Before I get started into the video on the Galaxie, I'll just show a couple things. I got the switch on the parts washer changed out, which is kind of nice. And I got a new brush for it. The brush that was on it was kind of beat up, so I also painted all the bumper brackets. I think I showed this, and all the mounting hardware. Everything's all cleaned and bead blasted and painted, because the bumper, it's been, I don't know, I took it like the end of July, beginning of August, and he said 4 to 6 weeks. So I reckon in the next week or two, I hope it'll be done. And I got this all painted up nicely. Those are still springy free. Yeah, there's still a few little pits in it, but nothing that's going to affect anything. The weather stripping goes on here, the tacking strip goes on there, the material folds around, tack glued. So this is the part that you see in the car. This is the part that I really wanted to look nice in these, and they look really nice. And I moved them as I painted so I could get paint all up in here and in all these nooks and crannies and stuff. I used my little Badger Model 400 door jam gun on it. And it's acrylic enamel. You know, with the, show you what it is. This is it right here. And that's what I'm going to paint the rest of the top with. And you know, you use a hardener in it and your reducer. And I also, because what it is, you know, if it ever had armor all in the car or something sprayed in the car, you could get fish eyes. I didn't want fish eyes, even though I cleaned it really good with wax and grease remover and everything before I primed it up. I still use some of this in the paint, and that just helps prevent any paint issues. You know, why I hate to paint it and then, oh darn, I should have put that in it, and then have to strip it and redo it. So it's just easier to put it in from the get-go. But that's going to look, I don't think it really shows up in the video. It really gleams. It really looks nice. It's going to look nice in there with the contrast of the top against it. I wanted this gloss. I want the frame gloss. I think it'll be a nice contrast in the car with the top. Did I show this too? Yeah, I finished this up. Rebuilt the carburetor on it. And new fuel hose, clean fuel tank, changed oil. That's all I did to it. Power washed it, because I don't like working on dirty machines. So when people bring them over and want them fixed or something, the first thing I do is pressure wash them. Alright, I got to put the top frame back up. I had the car out. I had to do some running around the other day, 2-3 days ago, and I just took the Galaxie. It was a nice day, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to enjoy it, and I took it. So I put the top frame down while I was, there's the top switch. There we go. Alright, now I can sand on it. The first thing I like to do is just wipe everything down really good with lacquer thinner, just to make sure no oils or greases. I've been already reaching way down in there and getting the mechanism, and just gets all get as much of that oily, greasy stuff off as possible. Just will make for a nicer job when you get to sanding and painting. You know, you're not moving grease around with sandpaper, and then you're not dealing with it when you paint. You know, if you clean it off to begin with, and I'm using lacquer thinner again here, and then when I'm done sanding, I'll use a wax and grease remover. But that's where the spring attaches, it, you know, for the cable. It goes through the top along in there. But anyway, I'm just going to continue to try and wipe this thing down, move my towel along so I don't accidentally get any lacquer thinner on the body paint. But yeah, it got wiped down all on this side. This side has adhesive on it from, I don't think it will show up, from the top, originally glued there. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do now. It'll probably take me a couple hours because I'm going to be real thorough and try and get in all the little nooks and crannies. So take a screwdriver with this and poke it down in and work it. And there, now the adhesive shows up. Yeah, all that's got, I've been cleaning it down in here. It was like that all the way. So yeah, it's a lot of fussy. This isn't too bad here, but that one's got a lot of adhesive. I'll probably take a razor blade and take most of that off. Anyway, and I'll probably do that there too, but I'll just keep working away at it here. This is the side only wiped down the lacquer thinner, and you can see when Ford painted it, they didn't get the whole frame, you know, they missed it because this mechanism would have been down in there, so they couldn't get paint in there. And same with up in there, that arm would have been in there. So I'm going to probably, when I paint this, probably have it in a position like this. I'll probably keep access to the switch somehow so I can move it as need be as I spray it. But again, that's just wiping it down. Let me show you the other side. I haven't even started sanding that yet, just wiping it with lacquer thinner. Yeah, and this side here I've done nothing to yet. You see how much dirtier it is and all that. I guess the sun from outside's kind of blocking the view, but all that adhesive needs to come off and cleaned up, and we'll start sanding. Yeah, I had to move that. I lost count of how many times I clocked my head on it hanging over the other way. Yeah, and it got warm out, so I had to put the fan on. But I got this side wiped down now too. I got about an hour into each side, so there's a couple little where the nut looks like they there. So I gotta just tap those out. This is fairly heavy steel, so I might have to use a block and a fairly heavy hammer, but I'm gonna pound out those back in, and then I'm gonna start sanding. I'm going to try and get these dents out first by just putting a C-clamp on it. Actually, I think I'm going to do it this way because the thing fits in here better this way. Just let me get a pair of pliers and I'll twist that down. That straightened it right up. Yeah, totally straightened it up. So the old, got a bunch of these old style clamps. This is Anna Steel, Cincinnati Tool Company. Standard clamp number 540. Yeah, I put some oil on the threads and on this. You can see it's definitely a well-used clamp in the car hobby. I got some 320 and some 80 grit. So like the 80 grit, I get down into like these spots that are a little more surface rusted. And that cleans it up to where it's almost, yeah, it just doesn't take much. This paint isn't very thick on this top frame. So that's going to sand out. Well, this is just going to be time consuming, you know, and then got to sand around where I straighten these screws. The paint's a little peeled. And I'll probably have to get the Dremel with Scotch-Brite, you know, to get some of these tight little, like in here. But I'm just going to work away at this. This is probably going to be a couple of days of boring, monotonous sanding, so I'm not going to video a bunch of sanding. I don't like doing it, so I can't imagine you like watching it. But, you know, I can yap a little bit while I sand. I think that it's going to look good when it's done. Yeah, it's going to make all the difference in the world having a nicely painted top frame. Yeah, sanding all this kind of stuff, you know, it's going to take some time, and I want it, this kind of stuff I don't want to do with 80 grit. I don't want to see sanding scratches in the finish, so I'm using the 320, because this part of the mechanism will be visible when the top is up and you're in the car. So that's why I want it to look nice. So I've just been kind of just sanding everything out nicely here, you know, and getting down into these parts down in here. A little bit more work than it looks until you get in here and start sanding stuff. And then, like I say, I'll take the Dremel with a little thing on it to get all these little nooks and crannies, and you know, I want it to look good. And I don't really want to take the whole top mechanism off the car, so I'm just going to work away at it. Just gonna be hours of sanding. And I'll show you this side here. That's important to look nice, because that's going to be, that was originally where the material was folded around and spray adhesive in there, glued in. But I'm just going to plug away at it here. You can see the stuff coming off. I don't know if it shows up in the video or not. This works pretty darn good getting in here. Works better than I thought getting in these tight little areas on the top here. Alright, well, I got a lot to do here. So I'm just going to go to it, and that'll be the rest of today. I went around with the Dremel and got all those areas, so it's sanded, you know, about to halfway, and all this is done. So now I'm going to start on that side. Well, another day and some more sanding. I got all wiped down, and this is the passenger side now. And I'm just going to start sanding on that. I also wanted to just kind of talk about, I'll put this video up so it comes up on the 4th of September. I bought the car, paid for it on the 29th of August. I made the purchase agreement on the 27th of August, and it was dropped off by the tow truck on the 4th of September. This is the third while I'm out here sanding. So this is a year now I've been working on this project, and this summer I've just really slacked off. I've had a lot of other things. My dad's had health issues, and I've been helping him out and doing that. And had to have an estate sale at the house in Romeo and sold that house, and that took a lot of time and just a lot going on to where I haven't been able to do a lot of stuff that I really want to do on the car. And I'm going to try and get this frame painted up this weekend, and then I want it to dry about 10 days before I put a top on it. So I'll order the top after I get the frame sanded and painted, and a little bit of surface rust there. But anyway, I'm just going to kind of systematically do this, and then I'll do that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that. It's been a year. I've done a lot on the car. Completely rebuilt it mechanically from bumper to bumper. My plans were to make this just a fun summer cruiser, something I could take out and go cruising in and not really worry about. And I think I've gone way further than that. You know, I mean, I really took the car apart a lot further than what I ever expected to. And I also, like I say, I didn't expect to have to rebuild 100% of it mechanically. I mean, what didn't I touch? I rebuilt the heater blower motor, the windshield wiper motor, the power steering gear, the steering pump, the alternator, the starter, the carburetor, and by the way, speaking of a carburetor, I have to show you, I picked up two Autolite 4100 4-barrels from a guy that he's a FE engine nut, and he had a 66 352 that he was going to build, and he was not going to use the Autolite 4100. So I got that and another one that you saw in the parts washer that was just super nasty. But the one that I unbolted off the 352 was actually in pretty decent shape, and that one I'm probably going to rebuild that one and put on the engine. That one's only, I'll show you, I'll add that to the video, the date code on the carburetor, but I'll do a video on when I rebuild that carburetor. I'm just not happy with the performance of this one. I think that this one was rebuilt by a rebuilder previously, and I don't know if they put the throttle plates in correctly or if they put the correct ones in. You know, these rebuilders, they take carburetors apart by the dozens and they scatter the parts all over, and then they put a carburetor together. The carburetor on this engine had different main jets in it. I mean, they weren't the correct ones to begin with, and then they weren't even the same in each float bowl. So, you know, that kind of gives you an idea of the quality of rebuilt carburetors back in that era. That was poor at best. I used to always rebuild them myself because I just rebuilt ones usually never functioned properly. If you bought a reman, if you went to the auto parts and bought a reman carburetor, you put it on, you'd have to take it all apart and reset it up, you know, to get it to work right. So basically, if the casting isn't cracked or broken, or the shafts where the shafts go through aren't completely worn out, which if they are, you can drill them out and bushing them, put bushings in, and save the carburetor. But if the casting isn't cracked, you know, you get these people that say, oh, this carburetor's junk. Well, they're not junk if they're not cracked or broken. They can be rebuilt and repaired. I don't, you know, when I hear somebody say, oh, that carburetor's junk, they don't know anything about them. And that's just their way of saying, oh, it needs to be replaced because they're a parts replacer. I like to keep things what came on cars. I like to rebuild them, make them right. It's the fun of doing a cars. You know, I could have put a Eldbrock or a, you know, I could have put whatever I wanted on for a carburetor. But what fun is that? You know, going to the store and buying a brand new carburetor and just slapping it on. That's no fun. I want to solve problems. I want to make it right. I want it original, the way it was designed to be. That's a challenge. And that's what I like, is that challenge. And so anyway, I'm going to, like I say, I'll do a video of rebuilding that carburetor. But again, one more time, you know, if you skip through, you know, a lot of people skip through YouTube videos. That's, you know, I get a lot of comments, and the questions I'm answering were clearly stated in the video. So that, you know, I know how it is. I do the same thing when I watch videos, and I skip through them and watch, you know, certain areas, and that's normal. That's to be expected. Everybody does it. And but I do have some of those that I watch that I don't skip through. If you go to where I have my favorite tubers, most of those I watch from start to finish. I don't skip through them. I enjoy them. But, you know, like this sanding is kind of boring, so you know, you may not want to watch this, and talking might be boring to you too, so you might skip through. But that's just the way it is. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more, try and get this frame sanded out today, and get it painted this weekend. I probably said that 3 or 4 times now, but you know what? That's just the way it is. This video has probably been made over 4 or 5 days now, and so if I'm saying something repeating something from a few days ago, well, that's just life. And that's the one nice thing about YouTube. You can kind of skip through if you don't want to. You know, if you get bored, or you can click off and click on a different video, whatever. You know, that's just the way it is. But anyway, I'm just gonna. Got a lot of sanding here to do. I got a good solid day. Good solid 6-7 hours on that side of the frame. You know, by the time you get in all the little nooks and crannies and get everything, and I'm probably going to have the same here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these ribs off. I'm going to paint them off the car, and that way I'm just painting, and I'm going to take the header off. You know, I got the header over there hanging. Well, let's see, does it show up hanging from the ceiling there? Anyway, I'm gonna, yeah, I guess it's, wow, I can't believe it's not. I'm looking at a little screen. Anyway, yeah, it's all painted and ready to go back on. So when I paint this, what my goal is I'm going to drag the plastic over the car. I'm going to back the car out. I don't want to cover everything up in the garage, and it's just more work than it's worth to paint this simple framework. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it out, drag the plastic over it, and this rib, and the header will be off. So it'll just be this framework here. And I'm just going to put the mechanism down. I'm going to cut a slit in the plastic, run this up, and tape it all up. I want to tape it all up around. I'll show you. Want to tape it all. Whoops. Sorry, my tripod's a little loose there. Want to try and tape it all up around in here so I can paint the mechanism down in here too. And I don't want to get overspray on this green, the original green. And this is where glue is, from where that vinyl was glued on. It was glued around the corner here too, so I got to clean all that adhesive off so I can glue new vinyl on there. I have the vinyl, so after I get the top frame painted, I'll glue new vinyl on here, and I'm going to start making the boot that the top folds down into, and sits down in this area here. And then while this paint dries, and then I'll get a top. And I might even just drive it to Shelby Trim, you know, and just get an estimate. I mean, estimates don't cost anything. And I think I'll just get, after the frame's all reassembled and everything, I'll get an estimate on what they want to put a top on it. Just, you know, to see what, if it's reasonable, maybe I will have them do it. We'll just wait and see on that. Another thing too is the top cylinder on the other side. I sanded the piston with some 600 and it came up clean, and they're not leaking, so I think what I'm going to do is just clean the cylinders the best I can. You can see the one over there, it's kind of dirty. And I'm just going to leave them on, fill up fluid, make sure the pump's full. And I'm just going to leave them on, and if I have a future problem with them in the future, I have those other cylinders. I can always swap them out. That's no big deal. But the top mechanism works great, so why fool with it? So I'm just going to leave those cylinders on it for now. Alright, I'm going to get back to sanding here, and we'll make some more video as needed. So most of this is sanded out now. I'm going to get my Dremel with the Scotch-Brite and clean up these and, you know, all the little areas I can't get in with sandpaper. And then when I'm done, maybe this evening if it cools out, it's hot out. That's why I got the garage closed up. It's in the mid-80s, maybe upper 80s outside, 72 in the garage. So I just keep the doors closed and it stays cool in here. And so I'm gonna get the Scotch-Brite to clean this out. These screws cleaned up pretty good. I think they'll back out. This is a side I had to heat with the torch until it was red to get it apart. And but anyway, I'm gonna hit it with the Scotch-Brite, and then maybe this evening I think what I'll do is take everything out of the car here, vacuum it and blow it out really good so I don't have all the dust. Clean all the frame off, and then when I go to paint it, I can just wipe it down. It won't get dust in the paint. You can see the cylinder, well, it's got sanding dust on it, but the piston cleaned up nice with a little sanding, and I think they'll be fine. Like I say, they don't leak. Let me show you the other Autolite 4100 I got. I just got it out of the trunk of the Chevy the other day, and it's just sitting there. Let me show it to you. This is it right here, and it's actually a pretty clean carburetor. Vacuum hose that went to the distributor advance. The tag, that is correct for what this car should have. It's C6AFL, and the date code is R6, or is it B? No, it's B, 6CD. And this came off of a 66 352. And everything appears good on it. I think between the two carburetors we'll make one really nice one that is correct, you know, to the car with the numbers. You know, the date code's a couple weeks early, but those series of numbers right there are the correct ones to what this car should have on it. This is how I clean the cars up. I just get a bucket of water, a sponge, and a chamois. Just no soap, just plain water. And this doesn't scratch the car when you do this. You know, with a bucket and a sponge with like this. And it saves washing it, backing it out, and washing it with the hose, and getting water in all the nooks and crannies that can cause rust issues. But just kind of do it a little bit at a time. So I wipe down the body like that, and then just take the chamois and wipe it off. You gotta wring it out a couple of times as you go, the chamois, but it gets all the dirt off the car, leaves it nice and clean, doesn't scratch the paint, you get all the bugs and everything off. It just does a nice job of cleaning the car off. Yeah, it's got dust all over it from sanding that top frame, and I think I'm going to clean the Galaxie too, so when I drag plastic over it, I don't scratch the finish doing that. So, alright, I got to wring out my chamois. Before I dumped the water out, I just thought, you know, that's pretty nasty. That was all off the Bel Air. I wiped all the vinyl and dash and interior down. I'll have to put the windows up when I haven't really been driving the car. I don't know, I thought I'd be using it, so I've left the windows down, but I'm going to put the windows up when I'm not, when it's just sitting here, so the interior stays clean at least. And I'm going to check the oil and the coolant in it. I turned the fan off so you can hear. I always check the fluids in cold engine. Let me get a light. I'll shine it down in the radiator so you can see it. This is what GM calls a desert cooler 4-row radiator. Let's see if I can get all the rows to show up in there. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if I can get it or not, but the coolant's about halfway up in the tank. That's where I like to keep it. If I put it any higher, it just purges out. So that's why I just leave it where it is. All right, so that's all good. That radiator was recording, I'm going to say maybe 88 or 89. And changed the coolant in the car maybe 2 or 3 times since then. All right, let me get the oil too. I haven't done any video with the Bel Air in a while. Everything's been on the Galaxie. I haven't put oil in this car since I added a zinc additive to it in the spring before I started driving it. And it's right above the full mark, just a tad. So yeah, it doesn't really use oil. It was, if you can see the stick, it was right at the bottom of the F on full. And I don't think that's not, that little bit over full isn't enough. I don't think a pint or so is gonna, I don't think the crank will hit the oil if it's you know, that much over full. If it was up to here, you know, yeah, maybe, but not to there. You know, you don't. The reason why you don't want oil overfill your engines with oil is the crank hits the oil, the counterweights or whatever you want to call them, and it slings oil around and foams it, and then your oil pump is picking up foam instead of oil. So yeah, you kind of overfill the engine with oil as bad as underfilling it. You know, it starves the engine of oil. So you want to try and keep them in your safe zone, but I don't think that little tad bit above the full mark is going to hurt a thing. There we go. I gave the Galaxie a quick cleaning. I gotta dust this off yet, and I'm gonna put that somewhere so it doesn't get overspray on it. But yeah, the frame it's ready for paint, so hopefully I can paint it in the next couple of days. And most of the Galaxie is cleaned up. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it up and call it a day here. I got the Galaxie is ready to paint the frame, and I'll probably, again, as I probably said a dozen times, I'm gonna do that this weekend. The Bel Air is all nice and clean inside and out. Fluids are checked. Maybe if it's a nice evening tonight or tomorrow evening, I'll take it out for a lap on Woodward. There's still cars out every Friday, Saturday night I go out. There's tons of cars, and I mean hundreds and hundreds of cars out cruising. But again, you know, I've hardly had the car out. It's kind of a hassle. I got to move the truck, put the truck out on the street, and you know, then I can get the Bel Air out. And so I don't just run to the store in it. It's inconvenient. I just take the truck. And instead of, you know, moving things around to get this out. So that, you know, I've hardly driven it, but it's, you know, it's ready to go cruising. Fluids are checked, cleaned up. I haven't done much video on the Bel Air, have I? So there we go. It's all looking nice. And I cleaned up, as you saw, the Galaxie a bit. But anyway, a day. If you like my video, definitely hit the like button because it's certainly going to help with finishing this car out. I still got to get some white wall tires, paint the wheels. I got all the stuff, paint the wheels. I need to get the tires though, and the top's going to be very soon, and finish up the chrome and stuff on it this winter. But if you like my channel, if you like my videos and stuff, and you want to see this Galaxie finished up, or even just out cruising in the Bel Air, hit that 348 engine icon, the engine that's in the Bel Air, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching my video.